Let's see this pop off here. Let's get this set up here. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. We are live streaming. Should be going live right now. I think it's still setting up. Give it a second here. All right, guys, we're live. Here we go. All right, so welcome to my live stream. My name's Dan. This is Neomustangs. This is my Foxbody Mustang channel. Why is this delaying? Give me a second here, guys. I'm trying to figure it out. Again, you know, as per usual, if there's any internet, you'll see a little pause frozen thing. Just you know, always fighting the internet gods. So you know, if it freezes, then don't worry about it. It'll be fine. It'll come back in 30 seconds or whatever. But, you know, I always like to do a live stream every Sunday night at around 8-ish. We always like to have a topic. I like to have a helpful topic, and especially those who are just now joining the genre, the channel, whatever, with Foxbody Mustangs in specific. You know, I've seen a lot. Me and cousin Paul, me and cousin Paul, cousin Fred have seen a lot of things on Fox bodies over the past 20 years. And I like to share that stuff with the community when I can. And usually I like to share it on a live stream, which I'm going to end up actually putting my live streams in actual videos and probably reach out further to the genre. But as it sits right now, this is where we're at. So what's up? What's up, cousin Paul? Good to see you, my man. Shout out to cousin Paul. If you know, cousin Paul is my right-hand man here at the shop. And Sandy is his, you know, is his wife, and she does a lot of the video and some photography for us too. So I'm sure she's probably in there. What's up, Pat Turchin? What's up, Bill Pace? So today we are going to be focusing on the topic of, you know, it's the top 10, but to be honest with you, I got a lot more than that. So I think I might shut that light off. It's kind of glaring a little bit. Let's see what it looks like. We got these LED lights here, and you know, they really shine really well, but like in the background, it definitely has a little bit of a glare to it. Maybe the other one needs to be shut off. Anyway, I definitely like to do live streams with you know, helpful information for the community or whatever. So big shout out to the guys in green. You are my club members, guys. I appreciate your continued support yet for another month. If you are interested in checking out the membership, it's the join button below. They get, you know, I'll talk a lot in members chat only, and you know, they get to see videos early, and you know, we discuss things, we come up with ideas, and I even ask them for, you know, tips about thumbnails. So I super appreciate all y'all who are my club members. So you guys want to check that out. We actually got a new thanks button. Like I said last week, we got a new thanks button below next to the like button. It allows you to actually, if you're interested in donating to the channel, just indirectly, you can do that to any video that's helped you. And it's kind of nice because it pins your comment to that video. It's real nice. It's kind of like live chat with super chat and super sticker where they can monetize in this one, but it's only during live. But super thanks allows you to do that whenever. Anyways, so we're going to be talking about the top 10 leaks, top 10 like areas that Fox bodies are like prone to leak at. And oh, okay. So Smurfit is cousin Paul's wife, who has been building on a grabber blue Mustang for a long time. So that's really good news. They got a chance to do a decent drive today. Did you guys fix the springs in it? Can't get my oil drain plugs to stop leaking. Well, probably put a little thread sealant, little white thread sealant on it would help that a lot because it'll fill in the gaps on the plug. Most likely your oil pan's probably due for a new oil pan, at least a new fitting at that point. But I wouldn't worry too much because eventually if you end up taking the oil pan out, you could probably just have somebody weld a bung up for you and you could put a new fitting in there. But make sure you change the gasket too, Felix. They got these little gaskets, man. You can go get those at the parts store. Yeah, I just actually, I've been doing a lot of reels. If you guys know what reels are on Instagram, I've been doing a handful of reels, which are trying to bring my Instagram up. This is the new merch. We've kind of changed the shirts a little bit. I got a bunch of merch that we were selling from Chocolate Fox, but you know, we are on Facebook and we are on Instagram. And I hit both places with their own videos. So appreciate everybody. Anyways, so we're going to get right into what we're talking about tonight. As you guys already know, y'all know what this is all about. Last time we were live streaming, we were talking about, the hell, I don't even know. We'll figure it out. What's up, Out Fox? What's up, Ben Thomas? Felix Gonzalez? I think I just answered his question. What's up, Bill Pace? Broken Tool. I'm sorry, I'm kind of backtracking. Ryan Bass. Hey, did you put that computer in, Ryan Bass, that I fixed? Did it work out pretty good for you? Cowl panel rust, water leak in the passenger side heater core. Well, heater core is one of the things that's actually on the list. But we're going to talk about our first one. So this list I got going on isn't actually in any, what's up, Foxbody Smith? Isn't in any order, but we are going to come up with some. So hear me out. I'm going to have you guys help me make this list. Like I said, I got a nice long list of more than top 10. So the first thing I'm going to lead with. Now, let me ask you, let me tell you why we're on this live stream and we're on this topic. I just shot a video today with the white car. You guys probably see the white and black car pretty clear here. And there's something that I've been ignoring in my white car for years. And it pretty much brought me to this topic for the live stream. I mean, and the white car is kind of, the black car is kind of the same way. And I got to fix it as well. And it's just, it's at the point now to where, hang on a second. It's at the point now to where it's like, you know, you can't ignore these things, especially when it has to involve in oil or gear lube, because if you get into the point to where, you know, you're getting low on, especially transmission fluid. Let me tell you what, transmission fluid literally has, transmissions usually, or the stick shifts usually only have about 2 3/4 quarts in them to begin with. So we're going to actually start with that one right now. The transmission rear seal. Now, stick shift and or automatic, same scenario. I'm telling you, it'll sneak out and make little puddles on the ground about that big. Now, you get about 100 of those and you're down a quart. And it's not just the seal. There's 3 problems going on with that transmission in the back. There's a seal, obviously, because they get the rubber gets hardened or whatever. There's the yoke. What actually happens to the yoke is it wears out over time. You see what I mean? So that yoke riding around that rubber, that bushing inside, which is the third thing. There's like 3 problems going on with your transmissions. And when I build transmissions for people, I actually change the seal and I change the bushings. Very important to change the bushings. And I actually change the yoke too. That way when people get my transmission swap, they have absolutely 0 possibilities of that leaking anytime soon. So we're going to start with, and if you look in the back or underneath your T5, or you look in your AOD or whatever, because it's in both tail shaft housings, that you get, you know what I mean? You can get both leaks from that bushing, and it's the same bushing in the back. So number 1 is going to be trans seal Plush bushing. Now, as cars sit, the higher the mileage they are, right? The higher the mileage they are, the more that bushing is going to be wore out. And yoke, you see what I'm saying? So yoke is another big one. Plush yoke, and this is stuff that Hanlon Motorsports sells me all the time. This usually is in the kit, the T5 kit that we usually buy from them. Usually has a seal and a bushing in it. But I always ask them to sell me a yoke if they have one on the shelf, because I go ahead and change the U-joints and the yoke on the drive shafts when I sell a kit. Now, I'm just using my experience with this. This is always something that's a problem, that a transmission that hasn't been serviced in a long time, a Foxbody that's sat for a long time, or what have you. So transmission seal is big one. And we're going to go right into number 2, and then I'll get you guys here. Actually, let's take questions. Transmission, power steering fluid, highly flammable. That's correct. T56 shifts like an animal, bro. Thanks. 20 pounds of boost, 7,000 RPM. There you go. All right, so we got a lot to cover today. We got a lot to cover. So I don't want to get too crazy with it. I don't even know if you can see that. Man, that's terrible. I'm using my slicks as a little stand. I guess we could turn the camera. Doesn't really matter. Anyways, number 2 would actually be the oil pan rear seal. Now, here's a couple things you guys got to understand with number 2. The oil pan rear main seal is usually the culprit, but there is a possibility that sometimes that your crankshaft, at least on 302s, because if I remember correctly, 351s they have a blind hole, or they have their flywheel bolts don't go all the way through. So their crankshaft's built a little different on 351s. But on 302, stock bottom end, doesn't matter, whatever, the flywheel bolts actually go through the rear of the crank. And if you don't thread seal them or whatever, you can get oil, you can get oil through those bolts, and then you think it's a rear main seal. So, it's often overlooked. You know what I mean? When you torque those down to not put that stuff in there. So a rear main seal could be the seal itself. It could be the fact that the crankshaft, especially on stock bottom end stuff, it can definitely be the rear main seal has wore a groove into the crankshaft rear, rear armature or whatever, or the rear part. What is that? Hub. And you almost have to really get rid of a rear main leak, rear main seal. And here's your fix. You want to actually they make these little cup sleeves. Now I thought I had one here local, like right here in front of me, but you get like these little cup things, and it's like a ring, and it's specifically designed for the 302, the rear hub of the, where the flywheel bolts are. So you can literally take the rear main seal out, clean up your area, and you can tap this little sleeve in over top of the rear of your crank. Now, it's not going to change your balancer or whatever or mess anything up, but it'll literally fit, and it's kind of like beveled a little bit to fit right on the back of the crankshaft. And it takes up this space that the old rear main seal has wore the hell out. So you could literally take the little thing, even got the little tool with it too. It just taps it in place, and then you put the new seal in. You put your flywheel bolts in with some good thread sealant, torque them down. I torque mine to like 90. Never have a rear main seal leak again. So, number 2. That's your rear main. Not only did we talk about it, but we fixed it. Plus bolts, plus sleeve. I actually did a little video on the rear main seal and the sleeve. This is really important, especially for cars with higher mileage. So, you guys like this whiteboard stuff? You guys think it's pretty cool? Or you think it's like boring? Like, I have no problem just being able to sit on a live stream and just, kind of shoot the crap with everybody. It's not really that bad of an idea to do that once in a while, just to kind of hang out and listen to what people have to say. But definitely, I definitely dig being like kind of focused on an, not event, but like a topic, Foxbody related. And it's just, if it helps one person, then it's, then it's actually kind of worth, doing it, doing that particular, particular live stream. So, literally just replaced my seal and still got a few drips when I park it. Yeah. So did you put a sleeve in it? It's a speedy sleeve. Yep. Oil pan gasket that have to lift the engine to drop the K member. So another thing as well, with the oil, like the rear of the motor, a lot of that oil kind of sits in that rear sump. So when you're installing, sometimes your oil pump gasket, or excuse me, the oil pan gasket pretty much gave up. And there's a little quick fix that you can do, a little ninja thing, that if you clean the corners of your like I've used Seal All and gotten rid of like oil pan gasket leaks. I had to do it on my turbo black truck because, you know, it's kind of a PETA to pull a diesel engine. You could do it on your Fox. I mean, I wouldn't suggest it, but I fixed my white diesel truck with it because to get the front timing chain cover off, you got to take the cam and everything out of the diesel. Man, I ain't finna do that. So we just clean areas, and that Seal All, that little yellow bottle of Seal All, man, I'll tell you what. So if you got like a leak coming from your oil pan gasket and it's coming from that an area you know leaks, like the corners that always do, you can seal all that up and kind of get yourself a little bit of, get you by a little bit. So love the whiteboard. Got one of them art easels though. Silver 91 GT. They were great. I've used them before. Okay. I sleeved my crank, never leaked again. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? If you got, I just gave you guys two things that are common, like extremely common. People seem to think that a transmission leaks and they automatically think that it's the seal only. Man, it's probably, I got a yoke I could probably show you guys if you want to see it, that's wore out. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you. This is probably just as important as the bushing. Maybe I don't have one that's wore out. Anyways, you know, the T5s and the AODs, and this is kind of goes for both transmissions for the most part. But you got your yoke, and this you see all the marks on it. That wears out, and fluid goes by. Matter of fact, that's actually worn out quite a bit. And then you got like this little sleeve inside here. See it? It's like a bronze sleeve that runs up through here. This gets all worn out because it wears out on the yoke, and then it allows for tolerance of oil to come through, whatever. So, you know, we wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, look at that. It's not very tight. The yoke should be tight in the sleeve, and the seal is just there for leak protection. The seal isn't the full answer there. So that's one of them. You know, that's one of the, you know, very important things on a Foxbody that always leak. And the rear main we just talked about, like I said, you know, if you get a rear main leak and you're trying to fix it, sleeve your crank. If it's factory, sleeve your crank anyway. And then, you know, when you put your flywheel bolts in or flex plate bolts, throw some thread sealant on it, especially on a 302. 351, don't have to do that. And then put a new seal in. Put a good quality seal in. Put a Teflon seal or whatever. Ford Racing, Ford Performance one. You probably won't ever leak again. Love whiteboard. Love board should add a shot of it at the end of the video so people can see. Oh, we'll do that. So be careful not to overfill your T5. Right. So that's another thing. You know, when you're putting your transmission fluid in your T5 or your AOD, I think the AOD is 12 quarts bone dry, and that's with the torque converter empty, which has its own little drain plug. The T5 only holds 2.75 quarts of fluid. Period. That's it. If you overfill it even a quarter of a quart, or if you go 3 quarts or 3 1/4 quarts, then you're going to start overrunning your rear seal, and you will leak. It'll leak from somewhere. It'll come out the vacuum at the top too. So, haven't seen him. I'm just curious. Okay, so what else we got? How often should a T5 be serviced? A T5 should probably be serviced every to be honest with you, I would if you don't drive your Foxbody that much, you should probably just service it every year. Same with your gear, your differential cover. So again, and we're going to go right into the differential cover. Differential cover is the same nasty little seal in the front. You don't have to take your transmission, or you don't have to take your axle apart. But you know, if you drop your drive shaft, you can pop your little seal out, and you can replace your front pinion seal. Wait, I think you got to take the flange off. Is that right? But that's pretty easy. That's not that difficult. but they don't leak very often from the front. More they leak from the back where the gasket's at. To be honest with you, I don't even run a gasket anymore on the differential cover because the differential cover is probably one of the most leaky spots on a Foxbody. And you see it because it's like dripping. It's like it looks like this on the housing. And it's just real slow drips. My black car does it. I have to actually go back through. And I'm telling you, over some time and over some period of times, you're going to get puddles and they're just going to continue to just, to continue to just lose fluid. What's up? What's up, Mike Straminsky? What's up, Brutal? Brutal in the house. What up, big dog? It's good to see you. MJ1, 12 hours is a little high. For what? Mine is dripping now. So what I like to do, here's the fix with my gear, my differential cover. I would take the differential cover and clean it all out, right? Whatever. Make sure the surfaces, both on the cover and the differential the housing is clean. I actually take Right Stuff, the 1 minute, 2 minute, whatever, the Right Stuff black, you know what I mean, the can. And I'll let that stuff sit for like a couple minutes to get real tacky on the housing or whatever. And that's all I use. Like I don't even use a gasket to smash in between any of it. It's just not worth it. I usually have pretty good luck with it. You will blow the differential cover out if you don't check your vacuum. Now vacuum has a big play in that. There's a little vacuum like thing at the top of the axle. Like if it's clogged, then it's going to blow a seal on not only your differential cover, but on your rear axle seals, which is another one that we're talking about, is rear axle seals. Now those are sneaky. There's all kind of problems going on behind those drums. I'm telling you right now. What did we just say? Diff cover. So diff cover, okay. See that? Ooh, diff cover. And make sure you check back. Check vacuum, right? Because if you don't, you're just going to blow the gasket out again anyway. So, what's up, Lamar Richardson? Can anyone help me? I have GT43 bar heads with F303 ready to put in anything should know or look for. I know to need to upgrade the springs and I need to run 1.6s or anything. So what do you need help with, Fox City? It sounds pretty good to me. 8 hours max to drop a K member to the Fox oil pan leak. So we'll keep moving on here. Axle seals. So axle seals are real sneaky because you don't even know they're leaking. Like they'll get stuck in the rear rotor and like it'll just make a mess of your rotor and it'll make it all warp and heat up and lock up and all this other stuff. So like the axle seal is at the end of your axles behind your back. Well, no, not behind your backing plate, but it's when you pull the axle out, it's behind the axle. And your race usually rides on it. And if they're old stock axles, I guarantee you probably need to maybe just a maintenance thing, take the bearings and seals, which are cheap at the parts store, and pop the seal out, pull the bearing out, put a new bearing in, and put seal in. Because you could actually take the whole backing plate off and everything. So I'm telling you, the axle seals will be sneaky. Will be sneaky AF. I'm telling you, because you'll pull that, you'll see it. You'll see it like behind the axle and wonder why it's wet. Which leads me into I'm going to piggyback the rear axle seal with the brake wheel cylinder, like the wheel cylinder too. Like there's just a hot mess back there in the rear axle area because it's like you got the seal, you got the wheel cylinder, and you don't even see this stuff unless you pull the rotor off, which it kind of hides it. So you don't even really know. But the easy fix, obviously, wheel cylinders aren't hard to do. You got to be careful not to break your brake line because if it's a pretty shot wheel cylinder, then most likely you'll have to use some heat to get that line out and free the line up. Depending on what you live in the north, then it's probably rotted anyways. But in the south, you probably have a pretty good chance of getting that brake line off. Change the wheel cylinder, super easy. Might as well change the brake pads and everything while you're back there. So another reason to go disc. Well, I still got drums on the back of my black car, and we go pretty fast, and we're pretty silly with that. So Jason Fields, man, I appreciate the super chat, super sticker there, man. Jason is probably one of my, highest donators, along with Big Mike Straminsky and all my club members. So, guys, I appreciate all the support to the channel. You guys, I'm not afraid to talk about monetization and stuff like that. It does, it helps me to go to events. It's the same with Brutal. He's here in the channel. It helps us to go to events. It helps us to do and buy things for the channel without actually having to use our own personal money. So we don't use this stuff for mortgages and truck payments. We do this for the channel. So, nah, drums are legit. Come on, dog. Wheel cylinders are kind of important. Like I said, they do lock up. The wheel cylinders are just a terrible design. All it is a pressure, pressure with two little knobs or whatever. That all it does is literally 80% of your braking in a Foxbody comes to their front anyways. So that brings me, so we did axle seals. Let's get that on the board. Drum light bros. Who all is going to Ford Takeover? Wheel cylinders plus axle seals. Now, if you see where we're going with this, all this stuff is super prone. Like Foxbodies are super prone to all of this stuff. And whether it's modified, whether it's stock, this stuff still applies. And that's why I wanted to do this live stream tonight, to kind of help somebody out that might need the help. But yes, that's exactly it, Proline. Drum light, Brembos in the front, drums in the rear back. That's right, because 80% of your stopping power comes from the front anyways. So I was Superfly. So handling, yep, definitely going to FTO. Not just Foxbodies, Mopars are just as bad. Yeah, so I mean, if you're watching this and you don't have a Foxbody, this is stuff that's just literally can apply to other vehicles throughout the genre. The Mopars, the GM products. This is stuff that you need to look for. And I shouldn't have just labeled it Foxbodies, but I don't even know if is that what. Yeah, I mean, it could just be cars. I could just put a title in there and it just be cars. But it is what it is. So moving on. Diff cover, axle seals, trans seal and bushing, oil pan's done. Okay. So brings me to one that I cannot freaking stand. Thermostat housing. Thermostat housing are so prone to leak, it's not even funny. Like the gasket's a terrible design. The way, it's so easy to forget which way. I mean, obviously the thermostat should only go in one way, but some people do get them backwards. I always like to drill a hole. Some of them have the little weep hole, but I usually like to put like a little 3/16 or 1/4 inch hole to help with water, to kind of let water and air bypass even when the thermostat's shut or whatever. But the thermostat gasket can be just a PETA, and it could almost be confused for a timing chain cover gasket. But thermostat is how you fix that is you literally need to put the thermostat housing on like a belt sander and just make it nice and smooth and crisp. Because what has happened over time, especially cars that Foxbodies that sat for a long time, is it's aluminum, so it starts to get pitted pretty good. You see what I'm saying? So when it starts to get pitted pretty good, then we got a problem. It's the same thing. I still like to use a lot of right stuff, but at that particular, incident, I still use a gasket. So it's probably a bad idea. Yeah, we'll get to that, Superfly. Chris O, man, I appreciate the super sticker, super chat, bro. Thanks for supporting the channel. Chris O is actually the guy I got the B&G kit from, and the Cobra Cam that's in my dad's car. So you guys remember we did the Cobra Cam, but the B&G kit that's in the black car, Chris O hooked me up with. So he gave me a hell of a deal on it, and I appreciate him for that. So the thermostat housing has never sealed for housing gaskets, and only using gasket maker make them. Yeah. Listen, my 408 is still leaking. Like if you look at my videos, you'll see like this little ball of like a towel like this, because like ever so once in a while it'll drip and leak. And I'm just like, look, I'm not taking this thing apart. Matter of fact, I'm not taking this thing apart. I've modified that thermostat housing to actually fit on that, so not going to deal with that. Been having so Mike Straminsky says he's been having bad luck with MSD. Anyone recommend a decent discharge box besides MSD? What are you having problems with, Mike? I'm curious because I still use those. Halen in the house. I'm sorry, dude. I am so sorry, Hanlon. I did not see. Obviously I seen you earlier in the chat, but big shout out to my sponsor, Hanlon Motorsports. You know, I got. I think he's bringing his car down to Ford Takeover, so he's definitely going to be there. You know, it's going to be a good time. Anyways, moving on. We're going to go with which one next? I already said wheel cylinders. Okay, so here's a sneaky one. I've been scraping gaskets all day off my motor. Pop's car got spoiled with coyotes. Fox Gas in the house. What's up, Caleb? Gaskets all day. It's kind of funny. My live stream actually has to do with leaks and stuff. Oh, I did want to mention that, you know, Fox Gas does have Ford Takeover. If you guys don't know what FTO stands for, he holds it in Jackson, Tennessee. And it is the June 10th and 11th. But I'm pretty sure, you know, it's always nice to go a couple days early. I'm going to probably try to go a little bit early. So I just want to make a big shout out to him and his channel for that event. They keep burning up. Been using the 6AL digital. It's wired like they're supposed to be. I mean, it's 5 wires. They just don't seem to last. I'm weird. Also want to mention that I'm pretty sure we are going to be selling the 408 in the white car, like soon. It's a turnkey. Nothing happened to it. I think I sent the message to a couple of my other content creators here in the chat that kind of know what we messed with last, you know, what was it, 3 days ago? So it makes some serious steam. We're going to start doing something a little bit different with that car very soon. So I will sneak that in the middle of the live stream so nobody can, you know, so if you watch this live stream, you get a little heads up on what's coming. But we're going to be doing some swapping around, bros. So I'm probably going to get rid of the 9.4 408. I don't know if I'm going to let the turbo kit go with it or not, but I mean, I offered it once and nobody was interested in it. So yeah, we'll let that stew on the stream for a while. Anyways, moving on. This is a sneaky one. Definitely a sneaky one. The master cylinder. Now, the brake booster starts to rot underneath the brake booster, and if you start losing brakes, your booster is most likely shot, and you probably can't even see the rust that's underneath of it. Now, what happens is there's seals inside. Master cylinders leak all over the place. You won't even see it. You won't even know why you're leaking brake fluid. But that's why the driver's side, to my opinion, that's why the driver's side strut tower always rots out first, because all that brake fluid and all that condensation from all the years, the brake fluid just strips the paint off. And, you know, cars that's had this issue, especially cars in the north, you start stripping the paint off, you start making things rotted and rust. And then you got all the, you know, you got brake, you know, everything's wet, everything's whatever. So, so I think I'm going to go with, you know, the master cylinder leaking. Brake booster, master cylinder. So we're going to go booster plus master cylinder. Now, I know this doesn't, you know, this applies for, you know, everybody, modified or stock. It doesn't even matter. Booster and master cylinder, man, you won't even know it's rotted. You'll look underneath of it until you get underneath of the car. You won't even know it's rotted, bro. So that's a good one. Brake fluid was dripping on my floor, mat on the Calypso. Yeah, you know, I mean, I have brake fluid on my white car that I have no idea where that brake fluids came from. My booster's good. My master cylinder's the SN95 style. Everything's converted over, you know, copper lines, Willwood Pro Valve. I don't know where it's coming from. I'm hoping it's residual or whatever you want to call it. So Definitely the booster in the master cylinder is a sneaky one. Like you won't even know it's leaking. Like it's something to pay attention to. And to tap on top of that, the pro valve. Let me explain the pro valve. This is definitely something that's a possibility. Pro valves have a rubber seal at the end of them. Okay. Me and cousin Paul mess with these all the time. And usually you can just put you could gut your pro valve if you're going to use it on like a cheap budget swap 5, you know, like rear disc or whatever. But the pro valves have this little rubber, like, you know, little seal that'll, if it starts to get bad or rotted or blow out or whatever, you'll get, you know, you'll lose pressure in your pro valve. You'll lose pressure in your brake pedals and you'll start to leak. So pro valve is all part of this. When you start seeing a wet booster, a master cylinder, or a pro valve, you got issues. Change it. Brutal in the house, Fox. The Neomustangs, I hate replacing a booster. Got to do that on Pop's car. Man, this is exactly why I want to do live streams like this. It's like, I hear you, Caleb. It's like I had a guy that I was helping with. He was on Facebook. I think it was today. He tagged me in it. And, you know, he changed all this stuff. Like he went right down the rabbit hole. And I'm not making fun of him. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just using him as an example. He went right down the rabbit hole and literally, I mean, he bought brakes and brake pads and he bought everything but the booster. And it probably 99% was the booster. He was losing his pedal, but it was still stopping. I'm like, the car's probably not even running right because, you know, vacuum runs from that. And, you know, if he had just started with the booster, probably would have been all right. But that's what they say, you know, buy right or buy twice. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. So we'll get into that here in a second, Lloyd. So we're going to move right into one that always leaks, the freaking sunroof. Now we're going to tap in on convertible and we're going to tap in on T-tops as well here because it's just all a hot mess. Like T-tops and their seals, there's just so many seals on the top of a roof for T-tops. That includes the door seal, that includes the T-top seal itself. And let me explain that most of my channels derived around 87, 93. 87 had T-top option halfway through 88. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but halfway through 88 is a T-top option. I don't know I think about 12 of 88 was the last month that they offered T-tops. And let me tell you what, if you ever get your hands on a T-top LX, those were actually a really, really rare model, especially in 88. I think they only made like 50 of them. So anyways, long story short, there's just so many weather strippings that are involved with T-top. Like it's just a hot mess, like legitimately a hot mess. Like you have to, pay so much attention because if those seals leak in the T-top, then it's going to get into your headliner and it's going to get like just completely destroy your headliner. I don't know if you guys have ever had a sunroof Fox or own a sunroof Fox, but the black car is a sunroof Fox. And we don't have no darn headliner in that either because we have the same problems that everybody else had. Leaky lines, the seals were leaking, there was water condensation all inside where the rubber, it was ridiculous. So, that stuff isn't cheap either. But T-top and convertible, if you start leaking from the top, you definitely have either a drainage issue or a weather stripping issue. Obviously, late model obviously sells stuff like that. American Muscle sells some stuff like that. I don't know if Donnie B at Anderson Ford Motorsports sells stuff like that, but that's not what I'm talking about, Foxcast. I'm getting into it. I'm basically talking about seals. So what we'll do is we'll tap in on T-tops right now, and we'll tap in on, convertibles have a seal in the top, and their latches come loose. If you notice the convertible latches, they got like hooks. You know what I'm saying? They hook into the front of the windshield, the top of the windshield. There's a metal trim there that wears out, and there's also a seal there on your actual sunroof that kind of bridges the gap between rain shooting in your face or the top keeping it out. But what happens over time is those latches become loose. They're adjustable to an extent, but you have to almost adjust your latches to make sure that your roof isn't leaking in your face, like I said. So Greg, I appreciate the super sticker, $20 super sticker, man. I appreciate you donating to the channel, man. I appreciate that a lot. Thanks everyone who does that. Excuse me. Who else we got? So what up, Donnie B? Donnie B is in the house. Anderson Ford Motorsports, another one of my sponsors here on the channel. Bama 50, how we doing? Sunroof cars are more rigid than non-sunroof cars. Huh? So like I was talking about with sunroof, the sunroof seal, the T-top seal, the sunroofs are just a hot mess. You got there's an actual seal that comes around the glass. We've talked about this in other streams. If your drainage hoses are clogged, you got to blow them out. There's probably got a bunch of, chipmunk little, whatever, acorns in there. So there's probably just a ton of dust or whatever that's been built up. So, convertibles, the latches that, that if you're leaking from the front, kind of like the same scenario, that's probably one of the issues too. What's up, Stangman78? On door seals, isn't there a method of using 2x4 and slightly bending the door frame back to stop the leak? That's kind of like a Band-Aid, to be honest with you. The best thing that you can do for a door seal leak is to replace the door seal. These things are so smashed and so not working anymore that, bending your door frame would probably not be the answer. But, it's a good way to do it. I had a leaking windshield in the shop that replaced it, glued my windshield trim and the windshield silicone. Let's just say I need a windshield trim now. So definitely not suggested that you silicone your trim onto your windshields. I get it though, because windshields do leak, man. Those that glue, whatever tar or whatever that's behind it, I forget what it's called. It's definitely something that I've seen so many cars that we've had to dig silicone out of and just be hateful. Cousin Paul can get those acorns out though. That's right. Sometimes you've been in the frame, but some definitely replace the seals first, right? In a pinch, if you wipe Vaseline on rubber seals, they will swell and buy you some time. Interesting. Is that like one of them sneaky little tricks that you put brake fluid inside of an AOD and if it's slipping, it'll swell the gears or the clutches and make them work for a while? You guys ever heard that one before? That one's pretty tight. What's up, pimp? Good to see you guys. Valve cover leaks. Yes. So we did the convertible top. Whoop, I'm not on my thing here. So we're going to go with T-top, vert, and sunroof seals. I still leak. My black car still leaks. It's terrible. I got one of them Pinkerton. Does anybody know who Pinkerton is? The glass maker from the 90s? That's what I got in my driver's side glass here. It's terrible. It doesn't even fit. T-top vert sunroof seals. Adjustable. And like I said, the verts are like the adjustable. You can adjust the the latch to kind of maybe buy yourself a little bit of time before you put a new seal in or whatever. Where are we at? Door seals, weather strip. We just talked about that. So let's get into something that's a little bit different that's not as messy. Let's talk about exhaust leaks, because exhaust leaks are prone on a Foxbody all day, every day. The Foxbody is an emissions car originally. So you got like this pipe that's attached to these hoses that's probably rotted out and falling off straight from the factory. You got clogged, Cadillac converters. You got ball joint sockets that are rotted. You got a lot of problems with the exhaust leaks. Exhaust leaks are like the worst ever. And that's not, I actually did a video. It's not really something that I wanted to add to the stream tonight, but header leaks are something that's pretty common with these cars. And it usually has something to do with the flanges being, not flat and the gaskets being blown out. Because you can see, sections of gasket get blown out over time when you take them off. It's a pretty terrible situation. I like to stick a little bit of the orange high heat gasket sealer on my ball socket when I go to put the H pipe back up to the header or whatever. So, do you fit long? How do you fit long tubes around a T56 Magnum without leaks? I'm not sure. I don't use long tubes on a T56. Somebody maybe can chime in. Exhaust leaks are the worst, man. What's a Cadillac converter? I don't know, this expensive little box that are on on the car. Petroleum-based Vaseline causes the swell, right? So, what's up, Lamar? What's up, Anti-Rice? The old seal stuff is a beauty. Let me catch some of these chats or whatever. How do you fit long tubes on 408 with a T56 mag? Let's move on. Remflex gaskets are the best head seals. They're pretty thick. What's up, War Admiral? In the house. There is nothing more annoying than an exhaust leak, especially on a turbo system. Like, it is insanely annoying because it's like I got one right now on the black car, of course. My driver's side header is actually leaking, and I don't know really why. I don't know if I blew a hole in it somehow or my header. I don't even have header gaskets on it because we planed the exhaust, the flange itself. So we just put, high heat RTV on it. It's not really a big problem. So I don't know why it's been ticking for a long time, but we're going to, exhaust, how you fix exhaust headers, legit, take the header off, take it to a big belt sander. You see me do it in the channel. I got it, I got it on my I hate exhaust leaks video or whatever. Get the flange nice and clean and flat again. And then, if you're going to put a good gasket on, put like I've actually had pretty good luck with Percy gaskets, but I don't use them too much. But Remflex, I think, is kind of the same. It's kind of soft and it fills in the imperfections or whatever. So I just replaced the header gasket on my Retro. Neomustangs, did plugs on a P-headed car today that was rocking old school Mac long tubes? Never again. Did you cut a little socket? Did you cut a little socket and then use like a 3/4 inch wrench? P-heads and long tubes aren't that bad. Come on, guys. We're Foxbody gurus. All right. So, moving on. Rear Pcv intake. Now, here's the thing about the rear PCV, and this is going to be in one of my videos again this week. That PCV, if you guys ever taken your intake tube off, and you notice there's like oil coming from around your, that's inside of your throttle body. Usually, it has something to do with, the throttle body, pulling air out of out of the valve covers. And one of the major problems that I hate about Foxbody factory engines is the fact that they never vented the driver's side valve cover and they vented the passenger side valve cover only to get recycled back into the throttle body and pull oil and oily air out to smoke it doesn't make any sense. Like, the best things I ever did for a Foxbody was to let the motor vent. It ran better. It just made more sense to me. And I always vent the rear PCV because the PCV goes back into the intake, which never made any sense because if the PCV started to fail, it would suck oil out of the valley of the, where the lifters are at, and it would cause it to burn, wouldn't it? So I never understood the whole scenario there. This common sense isn't always common, but it is one of the videos that I am messing with this week again, as we did on the channel. We did talk about that. Brew, what gasket do you use? Never again. Oh, and the wires were touching the primaries. So how I dealt with that, number 7 is the one that touches the most. I just put a DEI on there, Caleb, and I just left it sit on the long tube, to be honest with you. It doesn't even, there's no chance that a NA 300 degrees, primary is going to burn through a DEI. You know what I mean? So, it protects the boot pretty good. And, I think I covered that in one of my videos. It's a pretty good scenario. Because I think it's number 7, because it's right next to the oil dipstick. It's a PETA. Number 6 is bad too. So number 7 on here was the exhaust leaks. Exhaust leaks, and whatever. So yeah, so this is what we got so far. Trans seal, rear main. There's a lot of topics inside of this stuff, you know, as far as like the multiple things that we're talking about, you know, that we went over. And this is just getting started, to be honest with you. And that stupid screen and the lower intake. You talking about the little, what's wrong with the stupid screen and the lower intake? Okay, so when we're talking about the PCV, probably one of the best things you can do is to make sure you have the screen. Me and cousin Paul ended up ordering a bunch of these. We do a lot of restoration here at the shop, so he's talking about this little screen here. It's a little filter. Now, your car's supposed to have this in it. GT40s didn't have this in it, in Explorers, but they had the baffle. But you need to put this in there. This is one of the things that are really important. There's the part number. It's a Wix number, 46978. At the same time, you should probably go ahead and... My wallet is leaking. Should probably go ahead and change your grommet too. These grommets will let the oil pass and it'll dump all over the back of your... So your screen goes into the baffle and then your grommet goes on top, then a new PCV here. Now, honestly, this should be vented to like a catch can, but, you know, stock form, it's supposed to be vented to the upper intake or whatever. So I did want to show you all that. What up, Bramful Rods? Good to see you. Fuel leaks. Number 5 and 7 were up on it. Use DEI sleeve like you said. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I would cover it and forget it. But yeah, it's a PETA. What I seen 650. What's up, 650 Motors in the house? 650 is the West Coast Foxbody guru. So if you guys are on the West Coast and looking to get some work done, 650 Motors is out of the Bay Area. He is featured on another larger YouTube channel as one of the mechanics. I think I can say it, Mike's, and he does a really nice job. And I'm pretty happy with his with what he's done, man. It's really cool. You guys got to check that stuff out. So what did you say? Oil level sender? Are you talking about that one on the side of the oil pan? Yeah, there's a gasket on that too. Like when you're down there messing around with your oil drains have little gaskets on them, and so doesn't the oil level sending, whatever. There's a little sensor that's at the bottom of your pan down by your main drain. And all that stuff's got gaskets on it, like rubber gaskets that you can buy and replace. And it's very important that you do. I plugged my PCV on the turbo and vent the valve covers to catch can. So actually what we just had a video, it's kind of funny you say that, Mike. We just did a video about that. You guys will see this week. Vacuum leaks. That's a good one. I actually didn't even have that on the list. Yeah, let's put that on the list. That's a good one, Jesse. Good job. Now, we did talk about vacuum leaks a couple weeks ago. Now, this is I guess we can bring that back up for sure in this live chat because they are prone, Fox bodies are definitely prone to vacuum leaks for sure. Because what happens is these little lines, and I'll show you. Of course, I got them sitting over here, right? This is Cousin Paul's stash of not cool brake line. Well, not brake line, but what happens is these little lines start to go bad, and they're just rotted from time. You know, they just break. Like you won't even know they're broke. You know what I mean? Now you could have one hidden in an array of and they'll just pow, they'll just break in half, and you won't even know it. And you have a vacuum leak you won't even know about. So that's a good one. Now, obviously, if you're not running smog, or if you're not running AC or some of those, those other emissions related things, and you're kind of exempt, and you delete that stuff, you should make sure that you also delete most of the vacuums that you're dealing with. So if you don't have smog, and you've deleted it and your county doesn't require it, and you've taken it off your Fox body for whatever reason, then you have to make your vacuums also match your engine. You see what I'm saying? So EGR, if you delete that as well, you need to, the only vacuum you really need in like a performance setup for the most part is your fuel pressure regulator. There's a couple, actually. You should always, if your county requires it, you should keep your smog on, I guess, but you should check all the vacuums on it. Yes. Does anyone sell the metal PCV valves from the SVO or Turbo Coupe? Man, I got a bunch of those. I think I got a bunch of those somewhere. I don't think anybody sells anymore. So apparently they didn't get my my internet bill money. Give it a second, it'll come back, guys. There's a vac line that goes to your charcoal canister that often leaks. Yeah, it don't matter. It happens every time. You guys see me? Sorry about that. If it gets too fuzzy, we'll reset it. But I think it looks pretty good. Anyway, moving on. So you guys know that happens once in a while. Where were we at? You guys could add to my list. We put vacuums on there. Oh, front seal and AOD. Are we good to go? Everybody good? All right, Brutal. We'll see you. Wait, it hasn't even caught up yet. Like the StreamYard hasn't caught up to. Hey, have a good night, Brutal. I'll talk to you soon. You only lag for about 3 seconds, and then it's fine. Okay, good. Okay, so moving on. What are we talking? We just talked about the vacuum. We just talked about PCV. Vacuum leaks, exhaust leaks, PCV leak. Always a problem. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Good Lord. Anyway, I am very sorry. It'll figure out. We'll get it done. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I have changed I'll be honest with you, I've changed my box in the house. I've changed the Wi-Fi. Maybe it's the building. I don't know, because I am bouncing off a little bit of Wi-Fi too. I don't know why it would be doing that. Must be the Chevy owner controlling your internet, right? I have a leaky internet. So anyways, let's make sure we're clear. So PCV's on the list. We're about to talk about probably one of the most predominant ones. I've had Loctite. I've had good luck putting Loctite around crank seal. Sometimes it leaks around outside. Okay. Probably one of the more famous ones is the power steering leak. Power steering leak is by far, I hate the power steering leak, because you know that it's going to start squealing if it leaks like even a little bit. And power steering, actually, the actual pump itself in the reservoir has a seal around it. And the seal can get swollen and or dry rotted and or fall apart over time. So like the seal, there's just so much, there's a hot mess. Like the power steering pump itself is a freaking hot mess. You know, you can pull the reservoir off the back if you actually take the, there's a fitting that you screw through the plastic reservoir, which has a seal behind it. I can't make this stuff up. They actually make, they're like $10. They make a power steering pump rebuild kit that has a seal in it. Like there's a seal in the front of the pump. It has a reservoir ring, AKA the reservoir rubber ring around it. It actually has the new rubber oil ring around the fitting. That's the pressure side. So super, super important on the power steering pump. Such a PETA, big pilot. I cannot stand it. So literally, guys, you can go to Advanced Auto Parts. You can go to AutoZone. It's probably one of the worst ones, period. And you know, you can get the little O-rings for the fitting. You can get the big O-ring for the reservoir. You can get the seal for the front of your pump or replace the pump at the same time by pressing the pulley back on it, and literally relieve yourself of woes of the power steering whine and leak, because it's a leaky situation all the time. So LMR sells a new pump. I replaced the one. So one thing about rear delts looking flat, you've been slack. Man, come on, dog. Looking flat, bro. Now I've been running a lot. We at Foxcast, we're on a running kick. So we do a lot of 3 and 4 mile, getting ready for a marathon, short marathon. Good night, Smurfit. Hope to see locals at the track, fans at FTO, and the rest for the next live stream. Yes, sir. So again, Smurfit is part of the channel. That is Cousin Paul's wife. She's also my photographer and videographer. She's going to be at FTO. She will be taking lots of pictures. I'm pretty sure Foxcast probably has somebody as well. I don't know if it's somebody that's going to be printing anything on there or whatever, but definitely takes a lot of pictures. All right, Cousin Paul, we'll see you tomorrow morning, man. I appreciate you. Had a guy tell me years ago he drilled the fitting out one size larger and the whine went away. I don't know what that would have anything to do with it. Whining usually comes from the pump being ran low on fluid and the rack being plugged, or the seals being, because there's seals in the rack. That's part of the power steering. That was my next thing. There's seals in the rack, and if you start blowing out rack seals, you just need to replace the whole rack itself. So we're going to put power steering, pump, seals, and this stuff is all prone, man. All this stuff for Foxbodies is all prone plus rack. This is stuff that just happens. And it's kind of one of your things that you need to be checking. It's kind of one of the things you need to be checking when you're doing your Foxbody itself. You know, when you're doing like your PMCS, which is like a preventive maintenance schedule every year that you should be on at this point. I do beer runs. Does that count? It does not. Foxcast does cardio. He don't like it, but he does cardio. So yeah, power steering pump was a big one in the rack. You guys think I should take this stuff and put it in a video? Like just maybe make this like window like half of, kind of like what Brutal does. I'm not trying to steal his idea. I don't want to do that at all, because Brutal's doing an amazing job with his live streams. But I knew at some point I'm saving some of my live streams for a later date, for like maybe if I get sick or I have to be on vacation or I have to take a time out for a while for whatever reason, like family emergency or whatever, that I can go back and still edit my and create content that'll put it in a 10 or 15 minute video that pretty much highlights everything that we're talking about on the live streams. I think that's a cool idea. I think what Brutal, but shout out to him because he's actually gave me the idea. And he actually did it this past couple of weeks with a couple of his live streams. And I think it worked out really well. I'm just giving you a hard time. Man, I know that, Fox. You cool. We're good, man. Why don't you tell these guys about your cardio schedule? Exhaust leak into the cabin to wash your clothes. Yes. So exhaust leaks are, we talked about exhaust leaks earlier, and let me explain something to you. There's a reason why I don't run around with a downpipe just underneath the car, because literally your eyes will be burning and your clothes will smell like you're at a fire. You're like hanging out at like a bonfire. You'll just smell. You'll have to change your clothes. War Admiral, you should make all these topics short videos, informational forever. That's right. And then we probably will. We probably will for sure. So we're about an hour and 5 minutes in. We have a couple more to do. Power steering, we just did. PCV. Oh, your headlights. How many of you guys raise your hand if you've had a pool of water inside of your headlights? I've seen a lot of those. What's up, Frankenstein Garage? It's good to see you, Jeff. Ain't seen you in a while. So, leaks inside of your headlights. Yes. So basically, that's a pretty easy fix. Get new ones. But you can, and actually you could take an opportunity at this point in time to actually take your headlights apart. And like if you stick them in the oven, I think there's a little trick. If you stick them in the oven and get them hot enough that the glue will actually melt and the headlight will actually come apart. This is a really cool restoration trick, because you can actually sand and like wet sand and buff the headlight, and you could probably clear coat it and it'll never leak. You know, it'll never fade again yellow. And you could clean inside the headlight and literally I'm telling you what, the Ford headlight is way better than any aftermarket headlight. If you can make that thing look mint or make that thing look good, stay with it. You can make it, and then all it takes is a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of chemicals to get the stuff off. Front pinion seal. Yeah, we talked about that earlier with the gears. The front pinion seal behind the flange is always a leaky, because you can see it leak, and you'll know it's a front pinion seal because it'll leak backwards. It'll leak underneath of the obviously underneath of the axle. Whereas the differential cover leak will just have like fingers of drips coming down from underneath of it. So heater core is definitely one that we want to put on there. So leaks inside the headlights, definitely worth the time to fix that. Take them apart. They're only leaking inside. They're only leaking inside because the glue has came loose, because the headlight literally has came loose. You could take the headlight apart. Like I said, you put in, somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure, and I've never done it before, you can take the headlight, put it in an oven, and actually melt the glue off to where it'll come apart. You can clean the surfaces and then just re-glue it back together after you restore it. So, faux show. Heater core. Heater core is probably one of the worst. Now, this is guaranteed. Now, I was kind of saving it for last, but 650 already jumped in on it. Heater core is probably the worst, period. Because the heater core, your heater core is leaking when the little hose that's actually sticking out of your firewall at the bottom of your, little rubber section of, where your heater core is at. There's a little hose at the bottom. If you see antifreeze leaking onto your ground behind, at your firewall, or leaking inside, or you smell it inside of your car, you got a bad heater core. And it's not that bad of a job if you know what you're doing, but it is a pretty terrible job. If you take your dash out for whatever reason, and you haven't replaced your heater core and said, I don't need to replace it, you probably are going to have a problem pretty soon. Just replace it with a factory replacement. You should be just fine. Lowest setting oven will go like 45 minutes. They come right apart. See, there you have it. Jeff already said it. So, big shout to Jeff, man. I met Jeff down in Columbus. I went there and picked some parts, some GT40 parts from him. He's been a subscriber to the channel for many years. I appreciate you, man. Anybody repurpose, anyone ever repurpose the AC evaporator from heat? I don't know. Good question. Foxcast, if you got some things you want to say in the channel for live stream tonight with Ford Takeover being like 3 weeks away, then go ahead and fire them off, bro. Make sure you guys go to Facebook. I do have a business channel there, but Foxcast has an event set up for Ford Takeover. So there's a lot of information on there. If you're definitely interested in meeting me, Nakia, Brutal, which I think this is the only event that Brutal is going to be able to make this year. And obviously Foxcast and many other people that you see here on the genre that a lot of us talk about here in, on YouTube with Foxbodies, then you're definitely going to want to make that event. It's an annual event. We talked about it last week, guys. It's just like, look, it's almost your duty, man. It's, bring your car and show it, man, in the Foxbody genre. I'd like to see us hit like, I don't know how many were there last year. I think there was like, was there 700? Was there 700 Foxcast? Or it wasn't that big? What was the number last year? I don't know if he's still here in chat. Maybe he is. So, Leaky Headlights. Obviously, we're going to, while we wait for some, conversation with Foxcast if he's still here, we're going to add Leaky Headlights inside, but there's also the taillights themselves. The taillights, like we talked about sealing the taillights again, that your lens will fall off. You know what I'm talking about? So cleaning inside the taillights, you can get all kind of stuff. It would leak inside the taillights and blow your bulbs and whatever. And usually those clips and all that glue that they put on there usually wears out over time anyways. I pulled my dash and did my heater core for no reason because it smelled coolant coming through the vents, which is a good idea. And it was the darn thermostat housing. Well, at least the heater core got replaced. I have not done the AC leaks, Brian. The AC leaks usually are something that has to do with the O-rings. These O-rings on these AC systems are so old that, they have reconditioned or the nitrile or whatever little seals that they make now, that if you have an AC system and you're about to convert it to R34 or whatever that crap is now, you definitely want to go through your whole system and change your O-rings. If you use a spare on the rear, it will be burnt. It will burn out your posi. Almost no point in taking a spare. Here's a couple more that I wanted to talk about. And then, I'll let you guys fire away with some questions. The fuel tank straps. Now, we all know that Fox bodies, regardless if they're from the south or from the north, they have straps that hold the tank up. Really easy. I think it's like a half inch. There's 2 bolts that hold the strap in, and there's like a little pin in the back. You pop the pin out, you pull the strap out, whole tank falls in your lap. But the point of the matter is those straps over time, there's a plastic cover that protects the tank from getting hit. And whether, water, snow, dirt, whatever, get underneath that plastic tank and literally sit. There is little vents underneath the plastic tank, the protector cover, but it's very common that those tank straps get rotted. And what happens is it rots itself to the actual tank itself. And usually happens in the north. It's not a very common one, but it was one that I felt that I needed to add, is the fuel tank straps and the tank itself. On top of that, and we'll add to that as well. So the fuel tank straps, on top of the fuel tank straps is the seals for the pump hanger and the sending unit. Like there's a little O-ring that's underneath of that. And if it's not seated correctly, or if it's rotted or broken, when you get up past like half tank, there's going to be gas that comes out that seal. You see what I mean? And over time, those things rot and fall apart. As well as if you've been monkeying with it at all, as far as the tank is concerned, and you didn't put it in correctly, it'll leak as well. Ask me how I know that. So that's Plus seals on the plus seals on the pump and the unit, the sending unit, like the little rubber seals or whatever. That's pretty dangerous. That actually happened to Dad's car recently. We changed the the sending unit itself, and we actually nipped the blue ring, or the little rubber ring, and it just was pushed in just enough to where it was like we get up past half a tank and Dad's car would leak out the back just every time we moved. It was ridiculous. Yeah, steering rack was talked about. I changed the fuel filler neck and it leaked within a year. Dang. So yeah, that was definitely a big one. And the seals. Now, the last one I'm going to talk about is the fuel rails. Fuel rails are probably the most dangerous one of them all. And the reason why I say this, and this is particularly important for guys who are changing their lower intakes, who are fooling with their fuel rails or what have you. There is seals on your injector. And if they don't seat properly, when you start getting into some serious PSI with your fuel rails, you can pop a leak and not even know that it's leaking. You'll smell gas, and you should smell gas, but this is particularly important for those guys who have been modifying their Fox bodies, like I said, moving the fuel rails around quite a bit and not locking them down correctly. They seat, I mean, literally when you put the injectors in, you should tap it with a rubber mallet to make sure that they actually seat, and they seat without forcing them. Because if you get an injector leak and it sprays all over the place, you could spray inside of the engine bay, all over your distributor and all over your exhaust, which is no bueno. It also leads to a big fire hazard, and then you have a big problem. We talked about fire hazards on the live stream several months ago. It might be something that we have to revisit soon anyways. So fuel injector leaks are probably the most scariest of them all because they're sneaky. You don't even know they're there. Some of you might not even have a fuel injector leak. You might not even know you have a fuel injector leak until you really kind of get into wide open throttle or drive the car around. So if you start to smell some gas for no reason, and you can't figure out where it's from, make sure you check your guys' injector seals and your fuel rails. It's not uncommon those two little 5/16 bolts are loose or not seated properly, or even if you've been modifying your Fox body, that you make sure that your rail is seated complete. And this goes for aftermarket rails too. I mean, they have these little spacers on my trick flow rail that I can be very careful with, because it actually brings the rail out to line up straight with the injector, because injectors have that kind of like that little angle to it. If you just bolt the aftermarket fuel rail up, you could kind of make the injector cockeyed, and the injector seal under high pressure could pop out, blow gas all over your engine bay and set your car on fire. So there's a reason why they have those little spacers in those aftermarket rail kits. So I don't know if you guys knew that or not. Very, very important and highly dangerous. So I left that one kind of for last. There's other ones here on my list that I'm not going to talk about that we've kind of already talked about in general. Fuel injector seals, rails. So I hope I did. We'll get back here into, that's probably the most dangerous one. I've seen it happen. It's happened to my black car. Popped a rail when we were racing it several years ago. Almost caught fire. I don't know how many times I've had to fight with my rails to get them straight, to make sure that the injectors are nice and straight in a line. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Because when you plug the injector into the actual lower intake, they're kind of out of a small angle, and you want that aftermarket injector rail to come straight down and seal. You don't want it to be cocked in or out. So power steering. Okay, so anyone always carry a small, yes, very, very, very good. Always carry a fire extinguisher if you can. Put a little cage mount, whatever. Not a bad idea. You can get little car ones for cheap. Not a bad idea to stick it under the driver's seat. Maybe stick it under the passenger seat. Definitely good words of encouragement. Get a fire extinguisher, because if your Fox body catches fire, it's over. But you possibly could save it and possibly do minor damage only if you had a fire extinguisher handy. So what do you say? Got to lube up the injector seal. Right. So one of my tricks to injector seals, and I'm glad you added that, Brian, is I stick a little mystery oil on them, like the air tool oil, whatever, just a little bit, just enough to kind of lubricate them a little bit. And, and they usually pop up into the aftermarket rails pretty easy and into the lower intake. So if you never force an injector seal ever, because then, if you force it, then it can nip it, especially on factory or aftermarket fuel rails. If the way they're CNC'd, it's really sharp. So if you kind of force the injector seal or injector on, you probably nip the O-ring, and you don't want that. Saliva makes a good whatever it takes to go in the hole. That's what he said. I threw EV6 injectors in my converter. Adapter has it perfectly placed. Yeah. So, all right. So if you guys have any more you want to add to it, here's the list that we did. Trans seals, rear main seals, diff cover, front pinion flange cover. There's so much stuff in here. And, if it helps somebody, then, I did my job on the live stream. When I swapped intakes, it took me forever to get number one injector to seal properly. Yes. So that's why I saved fuel injectors and fuel seals for last. Guys, take your time with stuff like that. If it doesn't fit, it probably has an issue with an O-ring. I always have extra O-rings around with injectors. When I'm swapping back and forth, it's not a bad idea to have your own little set of injector O-rings or buy some with, or even, request them from, you can get some good ones from like the parts store or whatever. Not a big deal. Always a good idea to do that. And the extinguisher is a very good add. Frankenstein told that. So anyways, we got about 10 more minutes left and we're going to get off. 9 more minutes. You guys want to talk about, more things that leak on a Mustang? It's fine with me. I want to give a big shout out to Hair the Motorsports and Donnie B and Foxcast Media for, dropping in, and Nakia from Brutal and Donnie B and everybody for dropping in on my live stream. It's much appreciated, my friends. I need to do a bottom end rebuild on a standard 302. Should I piece out everything or just buy a rebuild kit? I always just piece everything out. I always get the good oil pan gasket, the rubber, the blue one, the one piece. Make sure you put a little extra, gasket sealer in the corners. I've always had luck with that. I always get the good valve cover, reusable. They're also blue. As far as the head gaskets are concerned, I always get the PT 933 PT1s, Felpro 9333 PT1 gaskets. They have a steel core. I've always used those. I've used those on all my stock bottom end builds. Obviously, I run MLS gaskets on these two cars, but definitely don't need MLS gaskets per se for the most part on, something stock bottom end for the most part. All right, Jason Fields, I appreciate you on your super chat earlier, man. I can't thank you enough. You support the channel every week, and I just appreciate you chiming in, Jason. So, anyways, go ahead and hit me with some more questions if you guys got any more questions. What we have coming up this week, I have an issue with the white car that I've been ignoring for years. You guys will probably see that. I think I'm going to change my video schedule. I've been talking about changing my video schedule. But to be honest with you, the way the algorithm and the analytic on YouTube is looking, it's kind of terrible. Like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, there's so many of us, Foxbody channels that release content kind of like all at the same time. It's kind of nice maybe to, to start spacing out a little bit different time zones and maybe different days. So you might start seeing me. If I do swap to Tuesday, I'll probably start swapping to Tuesday on like 3 o'clock. It's going to be completely off the wall. So, pay attention to your guys' notification. Do us all a favor. And I know I can speak for the other content creators here on YouTube, especially with Foxcast, or excuse me, not Foxcast, but especially with, Foxcast and Brutal. And we've talked about this stuff. Do us all a favor. Make sure those notifications are on. Make sure that, I can speak for, we talk about, how we're not getting notifications. It may end up being, kind of a conflict with your phone. So make sure the bell's clicked on the videos, on the content of the people that you want to watch all the time. So there, you guys are getting notified when our videos come up. So So I'm pretty sure that, you know, Foxcast and Brutal and you know, Gearhead 704 and the Infamous Project and Blue Oval Media will probably all appreciate, you know, on top of many other channels that, you know, I think one of the problems that YouTube is having is notifications itself. I think there is an issue with the way our videos are getting notified. You know what I mean? Like, it's not notifying to everybody, and it might have something to do with the video or what you personally might have on your phone and or PC set up for, like, you know, notify all, notify none. You see what I mean? So, in your opinion, what is the correct way to retorque head bolts on a boosted engine? To be honest with you, I just go back over them after a couple heat cycles. If I get the opportunity to get to them, you know, just the same, you know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You see what I mean? Just keep crossing. Awesome stream. I was good to see you at Chocolate Fox. Look forward to FTO. Man, I appreciate you, MG. It's good to MJ. It's good to see you, my man. So what do we have coming up this week? Again, like I said, I had an issue with the white car. I'm not real sure if I want to bring that video. I have a pretty fire video coming up this week that's going to answer a lot of questions to a lot of people. If you dyno your car, if you race your car, you guys have heard the mumbling in the community for many, many, many years. Mustang dyno versus DynoJet. Who you got and why? If you're in the live stream, you watch the live stream thus far, comment below. I got a video coming up this week. Which dyno wins? We took the white car from Chocolate Fox from a DynoJet and literally did not unpack the car until we had the Mustang dyno ready. So we're doing a comparison this week, DynoJet versus Mustang dyno. So it's gonna be pretty fire. Braille for rides, man. I took my leaks like my military equipment. It's not leaking, it's out of oil. Man, I appreciate you supporting the channel, Brailford. I think Brailford, you probably have your own channel as well, if I'm not mistaken. My guy, MJI, is a great guy. Just helped me install my long tubes. Nice. What do you think is better for a budget-minded build? Currently, I have 3-bar GT40 intake, Explorer 172 rock, stock cam 1.6, and an aftermarket cam for the future turbo. Just leave it alone and go turbo. I'd made 550, 600 wheel on that very exact combo. Stock cam, GT40 3-bars, 172 rockers, Explorer intake, and throttle body. That is the same exact copy-paste stuff that I've been doing in the black car many years ago. So I do want to make a quick shout out to all the people who, DynoJet as far as accurate readings, but any dyno can be off, but it's not calibrated correctly. Correct. So I want to, again, I want to make a big shout out to Jason Fields for the $20 donation to the channel. Chris O, man, keep on keeping on, man. I appreciate you. For $10, $20 Greg, super sticker, some nice things in that picture. And of course, Brailford Rides for the $5 super chat. Guys, I super appreciate you supporting the channel. Like, again, it helps me go to events all year to see you guys and do a nice little, a nice little Christmas thing at the end, maybe. So anyways, what else? So I got a video from DynoJet versus Mustang dyno. I got a video with the white car. There's a serious issue that we had with it that I needed to actually kind of bring up to the channel and show you guys. And we are going to be going to the track this week. Nobody was really particularly cared too much about the last video, but Dad's car, to bring you up to speed, Dad's car went 1160s at 117? I think that was the best mile an hour we've had. Had a really crappy 60 foot, but for some darn reason, I keep bending stuff. And if you haven't had a chance to go check that video out, it's definitely a good video. I spent a good time making it. But, we did get a chance to turn the car up a little bit, but there's a couple parts that we broke that night and we got to kind of get fixed or whatever. What else we got here? Anybody got any more questions for me? Got a couple more minutes. Guys, listen. you know, I do these live streams every week because, you know, it's kind of like a hobby thing for me to do now. I just want to thank you guys so much for not just the monetary support to it, but just simply watching it. And you know, it's really humbling to actually, you know, and I say this, I said it last week, it's super humbling to be followed and understood by so many thousands of people on YouTube. And it's just like, it's something that takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time, it takes money, you know, to do. So shout out to everybody, even if you've got like 1 subscriber, if you have 100,000 subscribers, you know, the grind is still real. And, you know, to make content like this, to come up with things like this, you know, it takes some time and it takes some thought. And sometimes I feel almost guilty because I take time away from my family and I take time away from, you know, things that are important in my life. So I wanted to make sure that you guys, you know, don't make the same mistakes I do all the time by focusing on, you know, your car and your Foxbody. Make time for your family, make time for your friends. You know, your car will be there. You know, don't leave it on a jack stands. You know, I don't like that. I can't stand jack stand cars. You know, I know there's probably a reason for it, but you know, if you can get your car running and get it off the jack stands and drive it, there ain't nothing better than listening to that thing roar down the street. So, you know, but first things first, always keep your priorities. Sometimes I got to look back, make a check into the mirror and say, you know, Dan, you need to spend some more time with your kids, you know, this week, and get an opportunity to spend a little extra time with my kids this week. And that's what I'm going to do. So family is always first, guys. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Love your short videos, man. I appreciate you, Frank. So outside of that, guys, I just appreciate you watching and listening to me ramble. You know, it's very humbling, like I said, to have, you know, hundreds of people come into a live chat and chat me up and be respectful. You know, be respectful to my space and you know, just watching the videos. Whether I get a few views or I get 10,000 views, it doesn't matter. So big shout out again to Foxcast Media for popping in the channel. And Brutal as well, my guy Nakia. I'm sure I'll be talking to him soon. Who else was in the channel? Donnie B was in the channel from Anderson Ford Motorsports, and Handler Motorsports was in the channel. 650 Motorsports from War Admiral 363. 2 big Instagram guys. Again, 650 Motors is on the West Coast. If you guys are interested in checking out his Instagram, he does a lot of Foxbody stuff on the West Coast in the Bay Area. So, all right. Hell yeah, man. I have an 83, 89 Bolt running and driving. Working on getting mine off the stands, and I listen to you every evening. Man, I appreciate you, Chris. That's what it's all about. Listen, if I can motivate some of you guys to get some of your Foxbodies with some of the content that I make on these 2 cars or my dad's car, then I'm doing my job. You know, dad's car is a hot mess right now, and, you know, it's fun to drive an 11-second car. It's fun to drive a 9-second car. Either way you look at it, I don't care how fast your Foxbody is. Get it off the stands. Let's get busy. Let's get building. Let's go. You know what I mean? Let's just go. Because nothing sounds better than a push rod motor. Now, don't get me wrong. I like the Coyote sound too. But nothing sounds better than a push rod motor, lopey lope on a B cam. Ask me how I know. So anyway, just remember, you can race your car, but you can't race the house. That's correct. That's correct. Don't be so busy trying to make a living than to miss out on making a life or something like that. Does that make sense? So anyway, if that's about it, I'm gonna get about 30 more seconds and we're gonna head out. Again, we got a couple videos coming up this week, and my members, I'll be hitting you up this week. I'm gonna let you guys pick what we live stream about next week within reason. I mean, I'll make some content up on I've used my club members. Make sure you guys check out the join button below, my club members, wherever it's at. If you're watching this live stream late, there's the super thanks that you can click on if you want to donate straight to the channel. Super appreciated to everybody who does that. So again, shout out to those guys. Shout out to the club members in green. You guys are wonderful. You know, you're my guys, and I appreciate you. So guys, get your cars off the jack stands. It's getting nice out, even in Ohio, I think. Anyways, I will see you guys soon this week in the videos. I always, if you guys want to hit me up in comments, have a question, again, below, the comments below. I'm usually pretty good about answering comments. So thank you guys. I will see you guys this week in the video. Thank you.